We are up this morning in the SPYs. I shorted a little bit here into 243.5. There was a spike down middle of the day yesterday. It was a really nice buying opportunity, kind of into this 241, where we had this consolidation before setting up this upper range. I'm pretty sure it was on Trump Jr. coming out, releasing his emails, showing that he had lied about a meeting with some Russian lawyer. I've talked about this probably a few times in the morning meeting. For those of you who are newer, I'll say it again. Like when these sorts of things come out, some political thing where Trump might get impeached or anything of that nature, those things used to be a big deal like 10, 15, 20 years ago. My theory is that because more money was run by people based on their opinions, their emotions, those things were more important. As more and more money has shifted into quantitative trading, ETFs, passive ETFs that aren't actively managed, any of those types of news items that cause a spike down, you buy. So whenever I'm on the desk and that happens, I just buy. And off the top of my head, I can't think of a time that it hasn't worked, where there hasn't been a bounce. Sometimes you're a little bit early, but in this case, it dropped over $1.50. I guess we could have come off a little bit more down to this support here, another 50 cents. But those trades have worked over and over again. So that's the deal with that. In terms of big picture now on the SPYs, we're right back above 242.5, which we've been talking about for the last week. We were having trouble in that area. And as long as we close above there today, it brings the highs back into play. IWM was the easier trade in terms of a clear level to trade off of on the spike down in the market. And if you're following multiples of these ETFs, one of them usually will come into a more important level. In this case, it was just the 139 where we had gone down to, sold off to the other day. The penny, I think we bounced from there. I think maybe we dropped it by a penny or two and went up over $1. So that was a trade of 10 cents at risk, 15 cents if you want to give it a little bit more room, where there was $1, and it's just worked over and over and over again. And a good example of people are sitting at their desks all day, and that's why, because you do get those trades a few times a month. Now looking at IWM in terms of going forward, it's a little bit messier. Let's use this 141.5, 141.60. If we get a close back above there, I feel better about this making a run through the highs as well. All right, so a bunch of things to cover here. First one is PayPal. So PayPal got added to Apple's payment system. Let's go to the daily just to see where we are. So it looks like last time we talked about PayPal, it was doing this kind of wide thing, and then it gapped above the top of this. And it held and then broke higher. So the buyer is really in control of this one. I guess since it topped out at 55, which was a month ago only, it came back and did the retest of this breakout here from May 31. It had a pretty nice consolidation range. I guess this is, if we go to the beginning of the year, it was 40. It's a 35% move to here. Kind of explains why it started to consolidate. It's a big move for PayPal. It's not growing the way it was 10 years ago. Being added to Apple, though, is a wild card, right? Some analysts think it's a big deal. I have no idea how big a deal it is. So we'll know from the price. If today it closes, I don't know, above 56.5, above 57, and it probably is a big deal and probably will work its way closer to $60. But what we want to be thinking about is what we've seen a bunch of times in a bunch of these stocks that have run up in the beginning of the year, which is they make this 30-40% move from the beginning of the year. Some news item comes out, it gaps up, and then it gets sold pretty aggressively. Now, in this case, we do have 1 month of consolidation. We do have 3 times of it testing the 55 here, and spending time up here the last couple of days. And you do have Apple, which is obviously one of the largest player in retail electronics, people buying stuff there. So it's probably a big deal that PayPal is there. So I would lean more towards this gap will actually hold. So the question is if they drop it out on the open, where do we look for them to start buying? All right, so the first real level is this 55.35, which I got from, I think, the recent highs. Above that, it's going to be probably something in like this 56 area. I'd say it flushes quickly here, doesn't go that much below 56, doesn't come down to our really better buy price, and then gets back above 56. You could trade it long here against the pullback low from the open. That's one way to do it. Then you basically have an option to see if it comes up here, holds, and maybe you capture an uptrend today in it. So that's one scenario. Another one is it right on the open, drops below 56, pops back up, fails at 56, takes out the morning low, and you get to move into the 55.35 or lower. And so I'll look to trade that price action off of those levels, understanding that I think there's probably better than 50-50 that it holds this gap, because especially strong in the afternoon, because they figure they'll talk about it on CNBC and people will read about it tonight. And this is certainly a deal that retail people can understand. The next one is NRG. It looks like they're having like an analyst day, doing a bunch of things. The volume is really good in the pre-market. It's already done 15% of their volume in the pre-market. Here's the daily. And obviously what we like about this is, like many of the energy names got crushed, and it's tried to kind of break this downtrend. People here make the argument that it started, I guess. Yeah, it's above this blue line I'm drawing right now. So yeah, it starts to get up into this area and hold and then break above 20. You're looking at a move back into this area right here. That's swing position. So the volume really started to pick up here above $18 a share. It's going to move another $1. I think you got to be careful buying into this area here. I think, what did I put on the sheet? 1780. So, oh boy. So it's already moved up $1 from there. I guess the way I would look at it is moves a little bit higher in the pre-market. I would look first to see what happens at 19. If it actually gets below 19, can't really get back above it and starts to come up. I'd play it on the short side. Not for a gap fill or anything like that, but just because it's now getting extended, it's up 17%. So pulls back in, is only up 10% on the day, looks to stabilize. Then I would start thinking about more of a long again. And understand this, I've said this many times, in the first 20-30 minutes, usually you don't have a straight out trend. You get a strong opening drive to the upside or the downside, then you'll get some bounce back and forth. And you want to do those fades until after 10 o'clock when it consolidates and breaks, and then maybe trends for the day. The next one is Fast, which always seems to gap up or down on their news. In this case, the news didn't look that good, so we have to say, is it down a bunch? Why is it gapping up this much? $3. And I guess you look at it, it's down about 20% for the high, which is not insignificant for, it's not exactly a high flyer of the stock. Had been consolidating at the high. Earnings came out, they gapped it down to 47.50, came back, started to erase this. Assuming this was an earnings move from 40 to 43.60. And so on OK News, it's gapping to the top of this range. I'd be careful here. I mean, you do have the gap down from last quarter to 47.50, so I guess there's some upside. They wanted to test this area right here. The news wasn't particularly great. So it got about 47 earlier this morning. So yeah, I mean, it could pop back up here. I'd look to see if it fails above 47. and then gets back below, I traded on the short side from there. Down to 45.5, 46, something like that. And then AAL, they reported their monthly traffic numbers. Here's the daily on this one. And the interesting thing to me about this one is this for decades, it just was the worst, investable asset. Like this one, in fact, probably was in bankruptcy, came out of bankruptcy. That's why the chart doesn't go back that long. And then after the price of oil went up to like $130, $148 a barrel, they started doing these surcharges for luggage and things, and then they realized, oh shit, the way that we can actually make money is by doing all these upcharges. Keep the tickets, people think they're really low psychologically, they buy the tickets, and then they get you on everything else, and that's where they make their profits. And so it had a huge up move, and it's got cut in half, and now we're right back up almost at the high within like a year. And Buffett caught on to that trend, and he bought a bunch of the airlines. He's fucking the smartest investor ever. And so what we got here is it failed here the other day at around 53.35. So we'll watch this 53.35 to 53.50 on the open, and if it fails there, I want to see what it does. On this day here, it came in, they bought it at 53. See if we can actually hold above 53 for most of the day. Maybe this is what gets it to start moving towards the all-time high. But certainly a failure here you can short, and like a real short would be it fails there, starts to hold below 53, and then breaks to the downside. And then we know it's just probably consolidating in the above 50. Wow. ARNA. This, I talked about this in the quick review after the close. I tried to short it into this. Got stopped out into probably the first wick here. It spent a lot of time up there. Looked really good. Broke below. Got below 26 and started to go back up again and failed again. And now we're pretty close to this 25. I put 25 as support, so I'm kind of curious to see if it flushes below 25 on the open. If it does and gets back above 25, I would look to see if it popped back up here to 26. And then, the real test would be if it bounced back up to this area, failed here above 25, right above 25.50, both at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Fold, FOLD, this was pretty good. People shorted in the pre-market on this failure. On the open, it came off to 12.5. I shorted it below 13, worked twice. I think I shorted it right on the open here. And then again, it popped up and it worked basically just trading this 50-cent range. Eventually, noticed it holding higher. It didn't follow through the upside. It just moved sideways, but started to look a lot better as a long. Held higher, but could never hold above 13.20. If you see it above 13.20 today, holding above there, it's a pretty good long. Below 12.50, then you could look for it to melt further. And then Snap, we came in short this yesterday. People shorted it more so. It was in a downtrend all day. There's people trapped in this from the IPO. Maybe it works its way down a little bit more today, closer to 15. If it pops up to 15.80 to 16, I'm sure people will be shorting it, looking to sell it. That would be the thing to do. As always, be patient and good luck.
Hope you enjoyed that video. You can actually watch that video if you're subscribed to our Trader 90 before the market even opens. What stocks are in play? What levels in those stocks are important? And how we might go about attacking that stock. That's Steve Spencer, 20-year veteran trader, laying it out there every morning before the market even opens. A really, really powerful tool to start your session off on the right foot. So right now we're offering a trial that you can take advantage of to access this meeting and other meetings throughout the day. We have a meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern where you can sit down with Mike Bellafiore and listen to him talk about what's going on during the morning session, what stocks were in play, what the best trade opportunities were, as well as maybe some things that we're looking at heading into the afternoon session. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that trial.